Welcome to Often Pacing on Tab Radio, Racing and Sport. Tim Walker will be joined by Matt Young and Oliver Cownie as they delve into the form for today's Pinjarra harness meeting, as well as an early look at tomorrow's meeting at Gloucester Park. We are Often Pacing.
So very good morning, everybody. Welcome along to another edition of Often Pacing. Great to have your company, Tim Walker, with you, and looking forward to a very busy half an hour talking all things harness racing. So much to work through from the weekend just gone, and we're going to do that very shortly with Matt Young and Ollie Cownie. But looking forward to having a chat to Robbie Williams today. So a little bit of a different look with our special guest this morning, of course, off the back of his really nice 2-year-olds trialling yesterday down there at Byford, and Matt Young was there calling all of the action, so he'll be able to pick his brains about that. But looking forward to having a chat to Robbie about these 2-year-olds, both of whom have made a real splash in the early stages of the season. But let's not keep our experts waiting any longer. Matt Young, to you, a very good morning.
Good morning, Tim. Good morning, everyone tuned in.
And Ollie Cownie, good morning to you.
Morning, Tim. Morning, Matt. Great to be on.
Great to have you boys along with us once again this morning. Now, Matt, I'll just reference that Robbie's going to be joining us a little later on today. You were down there calling the trials yesterday. Those two in particular were some of the headline acts on what was a very good set of trials and some newcomers to the state as well. What was your impression very quickly on what happened yesterday morning?
Yeah, it was a really impressive trial by Louis V. He travelled really strongly, and I think before he went for a break, his run in the Sales Classic was absolutely outstanding. So I think he solidified himself as a real serious player going forward in the 2-year-old ranks. And yesterday's trial, he went from coast to coast, really impressive. And Mr. Moonwalker just sort of ran into a few little spots of bother there in that final lap in terms of getting a clear run. But once he got clear, he hit the line nice and strongly. So I think both horses have performed admirably, and Louis V, really excited to see him come back. We
spoke to Stuart McDonald earlier on the Sports Daily today as well, and a few newcomers to the Hall Senior Stable, and a little bit to like there as well, I reckon, Matt.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a couple of nice ones. We haven't seen you sort of produce a few for a little while, I guess you could say. It used to be a common trend. Every other week at Byford we'd get to see a new one, but it's great to see a couple coming through, and they looked pretty nice. Even the one that Junior had was nice and strong through the line too. So there's plenty to dissect from trials, and I think there's going to be plenty of winners coming out of those in terms of horses to follow. All
right, let's get stuck into it, gents. Friday night, and then a look towards Pinjarra today and Northam tomorrow night, obviously with no Gloucester Park in action. So, Ollie, I'll go to you firstly. So 3 horses that you've got to follow out of Friday night, and starting with Pete's Honour.
Yeah, the one I really liked in race 1 was Pete's Honour. Tualoo, the winner's obviously quite a nice horse and won quite impressively, but Pete's Honour was the first one to shoot out wide and was 3 wide for quite a long way before then getting to the breeze and battled on really gamely, I thought, just holding off Soho Skyfall, who'd had a much softer run. And I thought Pete's Honour, if he was able to draw a gate, then he'd be really competitive in some of the better 3-year-old races. And then in race 3, All Is Well, a horse that's returned from a spell here 3 months since his previous race start, followed the winner Lusaka into it, and Lusaka was obviously ultra impressive and dropped All Is Well down the back, but towards the line, All Is Well was taking ground off them late, and I thought it was a really good return from a spell, and he should be better for that effort, and I think All Is Well can be a challenger in some of the better races. And then in race 4, a horse that had its first preparation in WA last time in, Let's Get Rockin', for Nathan Turvey, back in the field, was held up quite badly and behind them in a race won by Jetstar in pretty slick time, 155.5, home some really sharp sectionals, and Let's Get Rockin' looked to be absolutely bolting in behind them without a run. So I think he's definitely one to follow his next few starts.
Absolutely, and the Nathan Turvey stable having a good time of it. Obviously, we saw 3 rumours in the feature go very, very close on Friday night. It's been a good couple of weeks for the Turvey stable. Matt, let's get your thoughts on Friday night before we look ahead.
Yeah, just three horses that I think are going to be decent to follow going forward. I really like the performance of Soho Skyfall. He showed a lot of promise as an early 2-year-old, and then a few things went awry, a couple of hard runs, and just seemed to knock his confidence a bit. So I can understand why Mitch Miller took the cover on Friday night to Tualoo after the second. A lot of pressure came along, and from there, he's gone to the line pretty well. So I think he'll bounce off that really well. It's a good confidence builder, and I think he'll be winning a race pretty soon. Beyond the Sea, she's one of the top free-for-all mares that is going around. She returned, just loved the way that she went about it and the way she got through the line. She's just so consistent. I'm looking forward to seeing what she can do this preparation. And Flying Rumour, I thought the run had plenty of merit considering first up. I think he'll bounce off that really well. Just three horses to really follow in the next 3 or 4 starts, because I think there could be a couple of wins in stock for all of them.
Yeah, absolutely. We saw Flying Rumour once. Flying Rumour found the best form last time in, Matt. Really did hold that form for a good couple of weeks and was in really good nick out here at Gloucester Park last time out. All right, let's turn our attention to Pinjarra today. And Matt, we spoke to you earlier on the Sports Daily, and you think that the day can start off on a winning note for yourself here.
Yeah, I was pretty keen on the chances of Lake Picola. I've just really been taken by the horse's trial performances, and I think off the back line should be able to watch things unfold. And it's not going to be too far away. It's got a few options from the draw, but the way the horse went through the gears at the trials, I think there's a lot more under the hood. There's a fair engine there, and I think Lake Picola can take out the first race, so I marked it as the best. Race 4 on the card, I think Apple Mickey just sort of picks himself, but I think a novelty builder and a multi-builder for the day will be Whippy's World of Place. I think he's going to get a really soft run in this race, and just really taken by his performance 2 starts ago when third, punching the rail, got into the clear and really hit the line nicely. So I think he'll run a really strong race in that for a place. And in race number 6, I do like Instigator, and I think he'll be very hard to beat. But I think if you're playing novelties in the race, I'm happy to be with Yankee Kev, who beat him home on that occasion. And I think he's ready to run a pretty good race. So Yankee Kev, I think, is a really good place chance first, small winning chance. But if you like Instigator, I think you could have Instigator to beat Yankee Kev and sort of anchor him second or third in your novelties, and I think he'll run a really big race. So those are the 3, hopefully getting a little bit of value throughout the day.
All right, so that is race 1, number 9, Lake Picola, the opening event there today, Matt. Very keen on the prospects there. And then we get to race 4, horse number 8, Whippy's World, the place, and race 6, number 4, Yankee Kev, can be one for the novelties, obviously, in behind Instigator, who does look very hard to beat in race number 6 on the program. Ollie, I'll throw it open to you now. You're also going to be playing race number 6, one of your 3 races, but your day's going to start off in race number 3.
Race 3 is a great race. It looks a really deep trot, this one, which is really good for a Monday at Pinjarra. Abundance, his last 2 starts have been really good. I thought he was held up badly behind Ace Commander 2 back, and when getting a nice pegs run through, and then last start he finished off really strongly up behind Uptown Lad, who's been super impressive this time in. He was pretty well suited from the handicaps last time in, so he was probably entitled to run a pretty competitive race, but he does have very good gate speed and he follows speed well, so I'm hoping he can fill a minor placing mostly, but I'm happy to have a small win bet on him just in case.
All right, so that is race 3. So just repeat that selection again, Ollie.
Abundance 1x4. I think he can hopefully fill the minor money for us.
Yep, terrific. On to race 6.
Race 6, agree with Matt. I think Instigator will be really hard to beat, but I thought Trunky Karawa was a horse that found some pretty good form for the She stable last time in. Placed 4 of his 5 runs. There was only 1 failure, and that was when he galloped away. He placed behind Golden Load and Opal Hunter, which looks fairly good form for this type of race. Trialled recently in 159 at Byford, and was quite a nice effort. A horse in behind them there was All Is Well, who's a much higher class horse. I think he can push onto the front here with the pole marker being off a 2-year break. So I think they'd be happy to take the cover on Trunky Karawa. And from there, I think he can run a race. I think he'll be in the top 2. Whether he gets beaten by Instigator or not, I'm not sure. But I think at the $4.60 at the moment, he looks fairly good value to me. And then in race 8, Tantabiddy, I thought he was maybe a touch disappointing first up, but he was first up, no trial, and he flew over at the start. In the end, he had every possible chance, but I do think he'll be much better for that run. He draws the inside here. His main danger looks to be Cold Hard Cash, who's off the back row, and he'll have a lesser horse on his back in Be a Lawyer. So I think if Tantabiddy can control it out in front, he'll be quite hard to beat in that race.
All right, so that is race 3, Abundance on the 1x4 basis. Race 6, number 2, Trunky Carrower can run you a little bit of a race, Ollie reckons, if that pacer is able to get to the top. And then in race 8 there you heard from him with Tantabiddy. All right, that is a look at Pinjarra there today. Now, let's turn our attention to Northam tomorrow night. So a rare Northam Tuesday night meeting where we are away from Gloucester Park. And Matt, your night is going to get underway there in race number 3.
Yeah, I thought there could be a little bit happening in the early stages here, and I think Cover Note's going to be very hard to beat, but I'm just hoping that the Worlds Above may go up a nice each-way price, and I think he's sort of a 1x4 play in this race, and I thought he'd run a really strong race. He was sort of freshened up into his last run, and it was a race which was high in class, and I think this looks a little bit better suited to him. So race 3, number 7, Worlds Above, happy to be with him on an each-way basis. And in race 5, number 7, Brewery Lane, I think will get a really good run. It's been racing quite well, Brewery Lane, and I think likely be behind the leader or 3 back the pegs and should be able to run into the placing. So race 5, number 7, Brewery Lane, I think is a really good place chance tomorrow night.
All right, pair of 7s there, Worlds Above on the 1x3, and then Brewery Lane, the place chance there. All right, Ollie, let's get your thoughts on Northam tomorrow night. So you'll be in race 5 as well, but you're starting off in race number 4.
In race number 4, there's a horse here which I think is going to run a really good race on the place line, Courage of Lombo. I think Courage of Lombo will drive through, land the leader's back trail on Seagrass, and from there looks really hard to beat. Last start he was launched at the start. She was launched at the start and couldn't get across, and that was pretty much her race over. But then she was inconvenienced and copped a flat tyre. So totally a forgive run, that one. Carl Harper jumps on 2, which I think is suitable. And if they don't run too hard too early, I think she can hang on for a minor place in Courage of Lombo.
All right. Are you more place heavy there, Ollie? Is that the feeling there, or do you give Courage of Lombo, as you say, some sort of a winning chance too?
I don't think Courage of Lombo can beat Seagrass, who looks extremely hard to beat there. So I think even just playing the exotics there, Seagrass and Courage of Lombo.
Okay, all right. Now go to race 5.
I totally agree with Matt's thoughts here on Brewery Lane. I think his numerical form looks a lot worse than it actually is. Last start, he got back from gate 5 and just never quite got into it. Race prior was a really strong race at Gloucester Park, and he never got into that one, but it was just too hard. And the race prior, he got quite badly checked, and he doesn't have a long sprint, Brewery Lane, so he's perfectly suited to this leader's back run, and I think he can feel the minor money somewhere and maybe be even a slight winning chance at quite big odds.
Okay, so that is Brewery Lane, much like Matt, place heavy, but some sort of winning chance in the eyes of Ollie to go with Courage of Lombo there, minor placing in race number 4, Matt, with Worlds Above on the 1x3, Brewery Lane, place heavy. Just had one that's come through on our Retrovision text line here in studio, and it was remiss of us not to ask. We spoke to Stewie McDonald earlier on, as I mentioned on the Sports Daily this morning, gents, and it was remiss of me not to ask about the feature race on Friday night. Ollie, what was your take out of Ashani Girls' win over 3 Rumours? A really thrilling finish at the end of it all.
It was a fantastic drive on Ashani Girl to push off the inside just at the right time. Got into a great position there. 3 Rumours had really put it to the leader, Soho Seraphine, who I thought in the end was a little bit disappointing after getting away with plenty early, but 3 Rumours was fantastic, and the Chani Girl just an amazing drive there to get into the clear at the right time and had the good run and just go over the top of 3 Rumours there, and Beyond the Sea first up from a spell was one that was finishing off late, and I thought she was really good too.
All right, and Matt, obviously the free-for-all as well, another small field out of the free-for-all on Friday night to dissect, and Wild West just seems to be a horse that's getting somewhere, maybe not at that Pacing Cup winning form, but certainly enjoying a nice little patch of form at the moment.
I think he's going pretty well. That was a really strong performance. If anything, he was probably more impressive on Friday night than he was the week before when holding Jumping Jack Mac off. So Jumping Jack Mac, obviously there was an issue there. He performed well below his best, but Junior just showed his skills. He went where angels fear to tread with his drive on Wild West, and he was able to get underneath of steal the show, and that was ultimately the difference between winning and losing. So it was a fantastic drive. Still, the show went really well. Diego, not as well suited when he's off the market pegs. And, it was a really fascinating race.
Terrific. All right, Matt, now this will be your last segment on Off and Pacing for a couple of weeks. You're off around the world next week, so hopefully it's an enjoyable time for you, and we'll get you back recharged, refreshed, ready to go before we get pretty much to that stage to our feature races, our 2 and 3 and open class, and then the 4-year-old features as well. So it'll be very busy when you are back.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. And I was going to throw in a horse to follow from one of the Italian tracks. I'll hopefully get to one of those while I'm over there. But yeah, it's going to be a really enjoyable time. So I'll be going for about 7 weeks. Not that I'm counting, but it's only a week away. So I'll be happy to go and pay a little bit extra for a beer at the airport next week.
Oh, fantastic. And, of course, before you do get there, as you said, it's about a week away. You've got a little bit of work to do still. You'll have the Northern Preview on the Sports Daily tomorrow morning, but also this afternoon or later this morning, about an hour away, a tick over an hour away. The Trots WA X page will be the place to be.
Absolutely. We're here right now just waiting for the drivers to rock up and trainers to rock up, so we'll get the interviews and hopefully a few winners there throughout the day.
All right. Go well, Matt. There is Matt Young with his look at the meetings today and tomorrow. And Ollie, appreciate your time this morning as well. And, of course, we'll hear from you on Talking Trots on Thursday night.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, Tim.
Have a great day. There is Ollie Cownie and Matt Young. All right, we'll take a very short break. When we come back, we'll have a chat to Robbie Williams off the back of his star 2-year-olds trialling yesterday.
They are Off and Pacing on Tab Radio, Racing and Sport.
It is great to have your company on this Monday morning. Hopefully you are having a good start to your week. All right, let's get to our next guest, and I'm really looking forward to having a chat to Robbie Williams today off the back of his 2-year-olds trialling yesterday down there at Byford. Of course, 2 that were quite prominent through the Sales Classic series, that being Louis V and Mr. Moonwalker. Robbie, a very good morning to you.
Good morning. How are we?
Going along very nicely. You must have been excited to have the 2 boys back at the trials yesterday.
Yeah, definitely. It's always nice when you've got a bit of quality coming back, and you look forward to getting them back to the races.
We'll start with Louis V if we can, because he was obviously terrific in the Sales series, as I mentioned, and his run in the Sales Classic was an absolute beauty. And what he did yesterday, was it everything you hoped for and more, perhaps?
To be honest, I still really haven't got over the Sales race. I only just literally watched the replay yesterday. My partner, Emily, she brought it up, and it was the first time I watched it. But still pretty devastated he got beat, considering what he had to do. But his performance was enormous, and it was very pleasing. And then, yesterday we just went out to the trials. There was not a lot of pressure in the trial, but he did what he had to, and he felt really well in himself. So that was very pleasing.
I was going to ask you about that, but you brought it up, so I thought I'll ask it now. How you mentioned about watching the replay. Do you look at it yesterday, and it's clearly a tough watch because he was so very good on that occasion, but do you look at it and go, gee, I'm mighty proud of his efforts, and you've got a lot to work with in the long term. So is there a sense of glass half full perhaps watching a replay like that?
Yeah, definitely. After there, like I said, it was devastating from where I was sitting. When he got caught 3 wide, and then he had to restrain to the rear, and then come from last at the 600 to go down by a head. So that was it was an enormous performance, and definitely going forward, you'd have to be pretty excited to head towards the richer 2-year-old races that WA has to offer. So, especially with our Westbred system here now being so lucrative, it's really nice to have a decent one in the stable that's able to head towards those races.
Did you think he had a performance like that in him at so early into his racing career?
What he'd shown me on the track at home has always, you definitely notice something when you're driving him. He does everything so very effortlessly, and everything you put in front of him, it's sort of not an issue for him. So he's a little bit of a bugger at home. You've got to keep an eye on him all the time. He's like one of those kids that tends to find trouble. So you've got to keep your eye on him. But look, he's been great to work with from a training perspective, and hopefully we can push forward now. And fingers crossed we can knock one of the bigger. Be nice to try and knock one of the Westbred or a Golden Slipper or a Pearl off with him. So, that's definitely our aim.
Absolutely. And so just off the back of yesterday, the way that he went about it, as you touched on there, effortless, and it wasn't an overly high-pressure trial, but the times were rock solid. What do you look to do with him in the short term, the next couple of weeks? Is it another trial before we see him again on the track?
Possibly. There is a race coming at Gloucester Park on a Tuesday. I think that's probably the next available race for him. But there's nothing set in stone. He's got a fairly long prep ahead of him for a 2-year-old, especially like I said, heading towards those better races. So I think we just, we don't get him too ready at this stage. But, if we can just build slowly, we won't over-race him. We'll just look after him and, let him tell us how he feels and, just go from there, I guess.
It is the back end of September, the Golden Slipper, and obviously you touched on the Pearl and the Westbred there in the weeks leading up to the Slipper itself. So the way that you want to manage him through the campaign, have you got an idea on, is it you'd like to get a certain number of runs into him before those first couple of feature races that you touched on?
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think there's probably... I think we've got the, off the top of my head, the Western Crown, sorry, it is, I think at the end of this month coming, end of July. So I think that'll be his first sort of major race we sort of aim for. I think we may have 2 starts prior to that. It'd be 1 or 2, could be a trial and a race or just two starts. So I'll just have a look at the programming properly looking forward, but it'll be something along those lines. But he'll be reasonably ready when he starts. So I don't like taking him there too underdone. But especially this horse, when he goes out, he does give his all. So and I think this time in, he's probably matured a little bit as well. Those first 3 starts he had, just going back a few months now, he was sort of more out on the track as a horse that just had ability, not on a lot of know-how. And this prep, he's sort of shown me that he's sort of working out what it's about and, getting a lot more professional than what he was.
What about for Mr. Moonwalker? Can the same be said for him off the back of yesterday's trial?
Yeah, his actual performance in himself, I was happy enough with. He just did a few little things wrong and had a few little things go wrong in the trial, but all in all, I was pretty happy with him. So he's not... Louis V's clearly a better horse than him, but, he is a really, really lovely little horse as well. And, he's definitely got the ability to head towards the better races as well. So, it's the pair of them that aim towards them and, fingers crossed we get there.
We saw him out in front in his heat of the Sales Classic and in the final itself. Would you like to see him, as you say, in one of those bigger races, perhaps with a slightly softer run just in behind him, and he could be a big player in a race like that?
Yeah, definitely, Tim. I think that's spot on. I think he needs to be sat. He is okay in front. There's no doubt about that. But I think if he can sit, he has got a very good turn of foot. So in those big races, if he's just sat there quietly and he's able to produce late, he's that type of horse that can be real dangerous. And it wouldn't surprise me to see him win a feature 2-year-old race especially in like those circumstances.
Robbie Williams is with us on the line. Obviously, Mr. Moonwalker and Louis V, two of the headline acts at the trials yesterday at Byford. Now, we know that you've got a good little team that you're working at the moment. Just speaking to you off air, so we know that Opal Hunter a bit of time on the sidelines ahead. We saw the ability that he had, and the fact that he's not going to be there for the feature 3-year-old races. Opal Hunter, has that been something that you've struggled to really come to terms with, knowing how much potential he's got?
Yeah, definitely. It's never nice when one cops an injury, but you do have to move forward. I've had the luxury of working in a few of our bigger stables, and you do see it. So it's no different to any sports. When you've got athletes, you're going to get injuries, and especially ones that can perform at very high speeds. So unfortunately, that's part of the game, and it's never going to change. So you've got to learn to accept and move on, and you got to do your very, very best to look after them. And like I said, accept the fact that you are going to get injuries, and fingers crossed he can make a return in roughly around 12 months' time, and push on from there. But we'll cross our fingers and hope, I would imagine.
Are you confident that he's the type of horse that has got the potential to overcome a setback like this and maybe be a feature race player at the 4-year-old feature races in a tick over 12 months' time?
He could be, but we definitely he's definitely got the ability.
Yep.
There's no doubt about that. I think we won't look at anything to start with. I think we'll concentrate on getting him right first, and then once he's right and fitting well again, then we'll start to look. But we'll first things first. We'll get him right and get him happy and get him fit again, and then we'll push on. And
nice and busy behind the scenes with a few of the babies.
Yeah, the stable, myself and my partner Emily, we're extremely busy at the moment. We've got we've invested heavily in a lot of our Westbred horses, yearlings, and going through all the break-in process, which takes a huge amount of time, and it's a lot of dedication. But hopefully I'm back talking to you this time next year with quite a handful of nice 2-year-olds. So that's the aim, and that's the big aim pushing forward. Like I said, especially with the way Rawa's programmed our Westbred system now, I think Rawa's done a great job promoting our youth, and I think you're crazy not to have a go at these Westbred 2 and 3-year-olds.
Fantastic. Robbie, thanks for taking our call this morning. We do appreciate it. Great to see the two back yesterday, and let's hope that they are figuring very prominently in our 2-year-old races over the next few weeks. Great to chat this morning.
Thanks, Tim. Cheers.
There is Robbie Williams with us. Terrific to get an insight on those 2-year-olds, and it's not too far away, the first of those features, as Robbie mentioned, the back end of July, before we start to see the 2-year-old racing really ramp up, and from there the 3- and 4-year-old racing as well. That's Off and Pacing, done for another week. Ollie will be back next week, and we'll see if we can find some winners for another big week of harness racing that will be ahead. All the very best. Enjoy today's pacing action at Pinjarra and Northam tomorrow, before we keep an eye right here on Gloucester Park this Friday night, and the Noms have just come through. Enjoy the week of racing ahead. I'll be back again next week. Thanks for your time this morning.
You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, visit gamblinghelpline.org.au.